Chair, no one's signed up for public comment.
Okay, so if it's okay with the members of the committee, can we please look at hear the presentation?
Yes.
Is it okay if we start with the presentation from the Department of Watershed Management? If we get quorum throughout while you're speaking, I apologize if we open up the meeting. But you can proceed. Thank you again.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Greg Irely. I'm Commissioner of Watershed Management, and I'm here to give my first quarterly update. And just want to say before we get into these numbers, this format and what we're reporting is under somewhat transition. This is my first chance to really look and get into some of our metrics and how we're reporting them. And I did make some changes to how we're reporting, but I would expect further changes that will add better context to our data. And specifically what I mean by that is it's hard to compare quarter to quarter a utility. There's seasonality in our business and things change dramatically from quarter to quarter. I tried to smooth some of that out by comparing this quarter to the previous fiscal year quarter or calendar year quarter, where I try to rule out some of that seasonality, but down the road, you'll see a lot more comparisons to like 12-month rolling averages, 24-month, or even 36-month rolling averages. So utilities take a long time to get built, and it takes a long time to make changes in a utility. With that, I'll get started. Next slide, or did I do that? All right. We start with our organizational chart. 2 weeks ago, we reorganized our executive team. And when I got here, I think I had 14 direct reports. So what I did is consolidated our executive team, and now I have about 8 direct reports. Also repurposed one executive position and created an assistant commissioner over engineering. That position will oversee the engineering department. It'll oversee the consent decree, and it'll oversee watershed protection. All 3 of those disciplines are very engineering intensive, and I really felt we needed that direct level oversight of our engineering services. You know, we've developed decades of program management here, where we're pretty dependent on outside firms to do a lot of our engineering programming, and I wanted to bring that a little closer in-house. Also, I consolidated the operations under the other assistant commissioner position, so that oversight will be on our treatment plants and linear infrastructure, as well as our collection systems. And then finally, I really wanted to consolidate a lot of the people activities under our chief of staff, so the chief of staff can operate as the chief of staff. I'll get into the finance section here. We continue to carry a higher vacancy rate than I would like. However, we have about 120 positions going before the vacancy review board this month, and we have more positions to follow. So our top 3 priorities this year, I've told our staff, is hiring, hiring, and hiring. Traditionally in our industry, like when I started, there would be maybe 10, 15 people competing for a single position, and you would already have your certifications needed for that position. About a decade ago, it started to change, and you might get a couple people with certifications competing for a single position. Now we're in a state where we really need to hire people that are capable and train them ourselves and help them get certified. And so we need to change our approach to training our staff and bringing them along and moving them through. That also means we need to recruit more aggressively into our schools, starting in the high schools. We need to be opening our facilities to our schools and touring them. In previous utilities, I did that very successfully, and also created programs, educational programs, where students are spending time in the classroom and in the treatment plants doing their studies, as well as having an internship program where they had a work release and they came to work 1 day a week at the treatment plant in their senior year and had a job waiting for them. What we're finding is, one more career fair isn't necessarily the most effective way of hiring people today. With that being said, we continue to train our staff. And in the third quarter this last year, we saw a 594% increase in employee training and completions between the second and third quarter. This includes a 325% increase in license and certifications training, and Department of Watershed employees completed 2,466 individual soft skills training across 108 separate courses. I asked, what are the reasons why, our training went up so much? It's just been a greater emphasis on training and getting managers hired and put in their place. I wanted to take credit for that, but I can't. I wasn't here for most of that quarter. Also, we're going to be working with Atlanta Technical College with CDL training, and we're looking to partner and recruit in their employees on campus, specifically by hosting career days at the campus. And I had mentioned facility tours for the high schools, but also facility tours for the technical college. In addition, we plan to do in-class presentation on career days and conduct workshops where for staff to do certification prep and do kind of group study to get ready for exams. Before I leave that, also one final note when it comes to professional organizations. Atlanta had dropped off at the kind of the local and state level in our professional organizations. We are the largest utility in the state. We should have the largest presence in the state. We should be conducting trainings for other staff in other utilities by giving presentations at these professional seminars. When we do that, we become the employer of choice. People will want to go to Atlanta because Atlanta is doing things. And so you'll see in the next coming 1 to 2 years, our participation, not only in these professional organizations will go up, but the number of technical presentations we give at the state level will go up to include some technical presentations at the national level. The work that we're doing in Atlanta is innovative. We just need to talk about it more. Financially, from a revenue perspective, we are on track. Our revenue, we had a pretty aggressive revenue budget for this next coming year, and we feel that we're going to come in right on budget. So water and sewer revenues are favorable to both this year's budget and last year's run rate. Year-to-date expenses are within plan. They're slightly distorted because Department of Watershed Management recognizes the majority of its debt service in October, overstating our year-to-date actuals by $46 million versus how the result would look if we paid our debt service in increments of 1/12. Overall, DWM expects once again at the end of the year to be positively, we'll be ahead of plan, we'll have equity to roll forward into the next fiscal year. Pricing of chemicals and supplies continue to increase, as well as personnel. Contracted services and intergovernmental charges are all going up. This is our municipal option sales tax. Again, we expect to be close to budget by the end of the year. We're tracking slightly behind. Yeah, our budget is $220 million. We expect to finish right around $217.7 million, so just slightly behind. Operations. So I'm comparing with operations, I'm comparing the numbers of this quarter to the same quarter a year ago rather than the previous quarter. And you can see some of our numbers have trended down, others have trended upwards. We're digging into the catch basins, cleaning, going down by 68%. That's a significant number. And so we're diving into that, if it is really, that is a true number, or that is a data error. Hydrant repairs have gone up, and we've done a lot to true up those numbers. And drinking water went down. The amount of drinking water supplied this year went down compared to last year. Most likely because we've had a wetter year this quarter compared to a year ago. However, our wastewater treatment went down as well. So that's puzzling to me why that went down. It should have gone up. So there's been a 9% increase in service orders, service requests. We've also had the top three continue to be water leaks, sewer main backups, meter installs. Those have all gone up. Since I've been here, I've been deployed on 4 large 4 large water main breaks, or medium-sized water main breaks, as well as 1 issue with a sinkhole on Shirley Franklin. That's given me an opportunity to see firsthand how we respond to those, and I've learned a little bit about how Atlanta does things and ways that we can improve our response time. And so we'll be talking about that later in the presentation. These are just some of our different metrics and how they're trending. Again, I'm trending them compared to the same quarter last year. In the future, you will see a lot of the data trended towards 12-month, 24, and 36-month rolling averages, so you get a better idea of how they compare. There's more hydrant leak repairs, a lower percentage. I found out just this morning that they felt that previous reporting on hydrant leak repair may have been inflated, and these numbers that we're seeing today are a better representation of what our actual numbers are. A lot of that gets into the coding of how they code these repairs. Operational metrics. One thing to note here is our purchased power per million gallons of water treated went up significantly. One is the cost of power has gone up. The second is we put on our dryers out at RM Clayton, and so we use a lot more power to dry. That's offset. That increase in cost in power is offset with a decrease in cost and tipping fee for disposal of that. One thing to note about the 12-month O&M cost per million gallons of wastewater treated, that's always not a good measure. And the reason I bring that up as not a good measure is if you have increased inflow and infiltration in your system, so you'll have a lot of flow, you'll actually look more efficient with that number because you're treating mostly just water. A better measure would be O&M costs per pounds of waste treated, not gallons of water treated. I know if that doesn't make sense, but in a sense, you look more efficient with this particular metric, the less efficient you may be as a utility. So we'll be looking to potentially change that metric. On the collection side, number of delinquent counts has remained pretty flat. We will be reaching out to have a topic-specific meeting on our collection status and process moving ahead. Compliance. One thing to note here, we had 31 discharge violations at our wastewater treatment plants, both RM Clayton and South River being the primary violators. That is actually down from 57 a year ago. So we're trending in the right direction. And I go back. So our major spills went actually down. So if you look over there, we had 0 major spills this last quarter. So that's actually down from over a year ago where we had 5. This slide depicts activity by district. We have strong development everywhere with District 5 and District 8 having the most activity. So permits issued reflect approximately an 8% decrease from quarter 2, but a 13% decrease from quarter 1, which we think is due to seasonal fluctuation. Relative to last year, we show a 20% decrease. So may not be a seasonal fluctuation. We'll just have to wait to see what the next quarter brings. The capital summary here represents active projects and efforts and does not account for all planned projects. So this is active projects. Approximately $1.2 billion or 93 projects are active presently. And it is not inclusive of the remaining consent decree capital needs of $735 million. So there's $735 million not represented on here that's part of the consent decree. One thing I'd like to draw to your attention is to the far top left. We we have in process $506 million active on our wastewater collections consent decree. Relative, if you go to the right, down second from the bottom, we have $57 million in distribution, water distribution projects. So we're spending almost 10 to 1 on wastewater consent decree versus water distribution. In addition, we're spending almost double on our water and wastewater projects. That's at our treatment plants. So in the future, we will be looking to look for ways we can better balance that spend. What we're seeing, we saw it with the main breaks a year ago, and we've seen it with the increased violations at RM Clayton and South River. What we're seeing is this disproportionate spend rate over decades is causing increased risk, overall risk to the utility. And we need to find a way to better balance that spend. Safety and security. Our number of inspections, safety security inspections went up last quarter. Injuries have trended down, even though we did have 19 injury claims and 16 vehicular accidents. Strains are the top cause of injuries, like back strains. Key accomplishments. We continue to do our leak detection. We're actually in our phase 4, so we've implemented a digital process to upgrade and maintain our critical infrastructure. So we're using acoustic devices to listen for leaks. Those are the first 3 phases that were completed. In phase 1, we were losing about 161,000 gallons per day. We've reduced that by 75%. In phase 2, we had an estimated loss of 369,000 gallons per day. We've reduced that loss by 2/3. Phase 3, an additional 71,000 gallons per day with 72% recovered through repairs. We're now in phase 4. Phase 4 has 260,000 gallons per day of active leaks, and we're in the process of doing the repairs there in phase 4. Advanced metering infrastructure, AMI. So we've started that pilot project of selecting the AMI technology. Just wanted to show you an example of what that looks like. So these are the meters we have. So this is old AMR technology. These are the meters we're going to, AMI, something like this. And the advantages to this are it's more precise and accurate, but also you get real-time data that you can look at your account at any time and see your usage for the day, for the month. You can get text alerts for usage. So we're gonna be able to detect leaks a lot more quickly. And so this will be better for our billing, most definitely. Also, we're looking at every option of how do you implement this. So if we do this on our own, it'll probably take us 5 to 7 years to do this. There are ways you can use private equity where you can go out and there will be private equity groups that they'll install the meters, and you can either own those assets or not own those assets, and then you're charged per meter read. So we're gonna look at every option and see what those best options are, and we'll be bringing those, forward at some point for a council decision on what we think the best option would be for the city. The advantage to the private equity side doing that is they do these projects around the country, and they may have 40 or 50 projects under their belt, whereas when we do it as a city, we might have done one or two of these in our career. So we don't have necessarily the same expertise. They can do it in about half the amount of time that we can. And so it's a little bit like remodeling your house. You can remodel your house, or you can pay a professional to help you come in and remodel your house. Before we leave that topic, one thing, we are also implementing CityWorks. So a lot of the data you just saw was pulled out of Hanson. We do believe that we'll get better data with CityWorks and more real-time metrics so we can improve our operating efficiency. But I want to caution, whether it's AMI or going to CityWorks, these programs are not necessarily going to be a panacea, like everything's going to be better if we just do that. We have to improve ourselves, our processes, and that starts with the people we hire, how we train, how we manage, because at some point, 15, 20 years ago, Hanson was going to be the answer, and AMR was going to fix all of our problems, and we weren't going to have billing problems anymore. So I'm keeping that in mind as we move forward to these new technologies and new programs. We have to bring good processes and good people with it. Otherwise, we won't be successful. Improvements at RM Clayton. You can see we've done a vast number of improvements there, and we have not had a single E. coli violation since March of last year. Staff is doing an amazing job there. We continue to make improvements there, and we are working things out with outside parties that had interest in our performance there. And then working, we have our command center up and running. We're going to do an exercise June 30th on using our command center. We're getting prepped so we can respond to any major incidents we have at any time using our command center, as well as being active during the FIFA World Cup to ensure that we can respond quickly to that. Also, I've been spending a lot of time with our crews out in the field, getting to know who they are, the equipment they have, and working side by side. We had a number of retirees. You all participated in that. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any questions from my colleagues? Okay, Mr. Shook.
All right, so it's going to probably take a couple of these quarterly reports for some of us to sort of digest the way you're comparing and contrasting your data. I like the idea of a one-year look back. I'm not sure eliminating the one quarter to quarter same year is, maybe I also ought to keep that. I don't know. I guess we'll see. What's going on with our request for the federal extension of the consent decree?
Yeah, we'll be meeting with the EPA later this summer to discuss that topic.
Okay, but we have formally applied for that, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's an extension for some particular projects. That's what we've formally applied for, is particular projects within the consent decree, not for an extension of the consent decree.
And then what was the basis for the request?
The basis for the request is just the availability of the capital and resources to get that job, those projects done in that period of time.
And is that because the original project estimates are so stale now?
All project estimates are in this consent decree with Atlanta. They've all gone up dramatically in their expenses. It's hard to say they're stale in previous, decades, but since 2020, our ability to estimate project costs and delivery times is still very difficult. So yeah, they're underestimated.
I like your fresh approach to leak detection. You may want to dig up an old audit that was done on the amount of water estimated to leak out of the system daily. It's staggering, far above a normal utility or comparable utilities. So that's good news. Is there a correlation between the leaks and the age of pipes, or is the age of pipes overdone?
It's a direct correlation. Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And then last question for me. So we're over time going to be getting new meters, with new technology. I appreciate the fact that you recognize the importance of a much longer, much more realistic timeline. The last time we did this, we were told that it would normally take 5 years, but think of all the money we're going to save by doing it in 3, and it was a total disaster. Will customers have access to that data, or is that all going to be behind a lock?
No, they would have access to that data. That'd be part of their plan. Absolutely. You should be able to go on your account at any time.
Okay, but I mean, could you, real time, see the little red triangle rotating by just lifting the lid or otherwise accessing it?
Not really. These are kind of a black box versus the old meters. You can actually have a register that reads, but no, but you'll be able to see it online.
All right, thank you. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Councilmember Shook. Our next speaker is Councilmember Juan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner, for the presentation. I'm going to be quick. I just want to dive into the budget numbers a little bit. On page 7, you said that the expenditures you're running, you're kind of underrunning the annual clip, and you expect to be below budget by the end of the year. Did I hear you correctly?
Correct.
Any kind of ideas to magnitude? I mean,
I don't know
Okay.
that, Jonathan. Do you know?
And while he's walking up, I just want to clarify on this slide, the period is actually July 1 to March 31st, 2025, correct? Not June 30th? It's only 3 quarters, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
Jonathan Williams, DC of Finance. We're going to underrun, I'd say, to the order of 20 million. And most of that is born out of headcount that is not at full budget.
Okay,
That's the driver, as well as contracted services that we have done some work in-house.
okay, all right. Wow, okay, that's helpful to know. And I'm glad to, as we go to the sales tax revenue too, yeah, I was looking at these numbers and I was thinking we're not going to hit the 220 either. And I think he estimated 217.
Well, actually, that's $8 million more than we will have collected last year. So what we did was we used a growth rate that was consistent with the last 4 or 5 years to get us to a budget of 220. Last year, we ran at 209. This
Okay.
year, we're going to be at about 217. So the impact to the market in general has caused us not to be as aggressive
Yeah.
in meeting our higher budget numbers.
Yeah, I mean, the sales tax number is one that I'm going to be watching across the board for all of it. I mean, it's really the canary in the coal mine in terms of what the headwinds, economic headwinds look like. So I'm,
Absolutely.
glad-
We're encouraged that it's still $7 or $8 million higher than it was last year.
all right, well, you're still standing up there. I've got a couple more questions. On page 10, and this may be, I'm hoping it was you, is that a year-on-year count of the bills issued jumped 20%? What's the driver behind that? We didn't have 20% increase in customers, so why would that number jump so high?
I'm afraid that this one I can't speak
Okay.
to. I'm not,
All right, give it back to the commissioner.
yes.
I mean, because the accounts established only went up 3%, yet the bills issued, are we just double billing, or what's going on?
I
Anyway,
was looking at Deputy Commissioner Smith.
okay.
He had an answer for that.
Deputy Commissioner Hugh Smith, Office of Customer Care and Billing Services. Very good question, Councilman Juan. I can't speak entirely exactly to that, but what I will say is some of our efforts with disconnections has caused people to come in and establish accounts, which also leads to more billing. But a direct correlation, I don't want to, nail it all the way down, but we have seen an increase in account activity associated with that, not necessarily new accounts, but accounts that may have been in an inactive state.
Okay. If someone could, I mean, if y'all could take a look at it and get back to me, that'd be great. Again, it just seems like that number is just so out of whack with everything else. And I want to make sure as we, actually,
I'm
Mr.
sorry
Williams.
for the musical chairs.
that's all right?
Part of this is exactly as DC Smith said. We have shut off a significant amount of accounts since we redid that in March of 2023 and reestablished. It's in the order of magnitude of thousands. So
But wouldn't that show up in accounts established versus bills issued? I mean, the two should be at least related, right? Not necessarily? Okay. Okay. All right. So I'll leave that as an open question for y'all. But I did want to talk about the billing situation. And I know that I'm unfortunately going to have to miss the meeting that's scheduled for later this week, tomorrow, I believe. But I'm just surprised that our delinquent account number is not moving in the same direction. And we've been, I feel, taking a lot of actions recommended by y'all to address this, including collection services, including, I think the shut-off strategy is actually a good one because it pressures folks into becoming current. So what's the resistance here that we're
not
still seeing?
necessarily resistance, it takes time. When we use an external collector, we have to make sure they're in compliance with us. That took a long time to do, get access to our systems. That took a period of time to do. We've seen a $6 million reduction over the last 3 weeks, just based on bringing on several different entities. We've got technology improvements where people can set up payment plans on their phone. We've added 15 people to do calls. So to Mr. Hillis's questions, we know exactly how many calls each person is making, how many we expect to make. Part of the challenge was not cutting anybody off from 2010 to 2023. The accuracy of the records was challenged. So we're having to start from scratch in many cases. If we get somebody, we literally have to determine that that's the account holder. Are you living there? There are so many things that are associated with it. It's not just like we pull up a list and can start calling and collecting. But we have seen a short-term improvement. And that'll be part of the plan that I share with you guys for those who wish to attend later this week. It's okay, we can do it
All right,
one-on-one.
I definitely want to schedule that, because reschedule that for me, because this is a number we just got to keep watching, because, last thing we want, I know that other adjacent municipalities have been fighting this narrative as well, as we don't want to be the jurisdiction that basically you can get away with it.
Well, one last metric. On current bills, meaning those that have been issued in the 30 to 60-day range, we're collecting at 95%.
Good.
The issue is the old stale stuff that occurred prior to COVID and the impact of COVID, which I estimate to be at least $40 million. So all of that will have to be addressed. During that period, if somebody said they needed water, we would provide them water, and in a fashion that didn't provide all the information that we need to get in order to build them now.
I got you. I think an interesting number that I think would reveal what you're saying is if we looked at the accounts from 2023 on.
We have.
And what the delinquency rates are there. And if they are, like you said, at 90, at less than 5%, then great. Then we're also obviously chasing old accounts. But
Yes.
if we're still not managing, to continue to build up delinquent accounts, then we've got another conversation we have to have.
No, we're at 94 to 95% on current. And of course, that 5% always adds to your aged amount. So we're working to get that addressed as well as find innovative ways to deal with that which may be so old that there's not much we can do legally associated with.
Yeah, I mean, and if that is the case, then I think, I'm one of the ilk of, if we need to do some scrubbing and cleaning and write those off, and let's do it, because we just don't need all this hanging if there's really no chance of getting it.
Well, two statements. One, it's all been properly reserved, so we're not overstating revenue. Secondarily, we can't write off an active account by code. So we're going to have to make some decisions at an administrative level about what we could do legally so it becomes an auditable event.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep, absolutely. We're happy to have that conversation. Final thing I'll say is for the commissioner, and then I'll yield. I'm hearing some rumblings about interdepartmental coordination, specifically between transportation and watershed, whereby there's a kind of wanting to try and pass the buck for some infrastructure problems between the two, saying, watershed, it's not my problem. Transportation, you go deal with it, or transportation saying it's not my problem. I hope that, as you continue to get up to speed, that you and Cabinet are having good conversations, because we can't have that. I mean, especially with the accelerated pace of some of the work we're looking to do. There's erosion happening that is going to be more expensive to fix later if we don't nip it in the bud now. And at the end of the day, it really needs to be the two of y'all coordinating and sharing responsibility versus trying to push it off to the other department in order to get these situations resolved. So I'm hoping that what I'm hearing is more exaggeration than anything else. But if it's not, then I will ask you and Cabinet to look into that and figure out how we want to address things like that. So,
Thank you.
all right, Mr. Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker will be Councilmember Andrea Bone.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that very well-done presentation, and to your staff that attended the town hall meeting at Welcome All last night. We got a lot of good feedback from that community meeting last night. I know Mr. Fletcher was there with great information for those constituents, so thank you for sending them as well. We are looking forward to the town hall meeting this Thursday with the Westview community. That will be their first time meeting you, and they are excited That meeting will be held at 6 p.m. at the Pathway Church in the Westview community. Also, thank you for taking the time a couple of weeks ago to deal with the difficult constituent issue that had been plaguing that resident for several years. Thank you and your chief of staff for taking those calls as well. That means a lot to the citizens to know that you are listening to them. Lastly, let's make sure that the employees are safe during this heat. Make sure that they have everything they need as far as water, and that's for all supervisors. Let's not let anyone get overheated in this very, very hot weather. And again, thank you to your entire team. We also had an emergency at Oak Cliff in Stratford. Your team was dynamic. Deputy Commissioner Smith showed up on the scene, and that's right off of Delmar Lane. So there are a lot of good things happening in Watershed. Again, thank you very much for everything. And Ms. Rawls, thank you for working on this town hall meeting. And we will talk before Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. The next speaker is Councilmember Ishay Collins.
Hey, good morning, good morning. I was listening in on my way here. I definitely have a question. I appreciate my colleagues' questions because it aligned with some of my concerns as well. But also wanted to look at slide 21 and something that was just brought up in terms of the incident injuries that are on record for your staff. Just wanted to know a couple of things. Understanding what kind of mitigation plans that are in place, how we can support. Is this something that with the level of injuries that have been reported, how has that impacted your human capital in the department, and how can we, and also the service delivery on our end? Just wanted to know more of the preventive spaces in that. The second part to that question, and I don't know if it's for this committee or another venue, just kind of the financial impact as well in terms of this. Just want to make sure the staff is being taken care of as well.
Okay, thank you for that. The financial impact, we'll have to get back to you on that. Regarding the injuries and how we work, I've been out in the field, both on these main breaks as well as just scheduled field days with our staff. And certainly I have seen opportunities for us to improve, and we'll be doing that. So with that, we will put a greater emphasis on safety, slowing down, and doing the job safely. So yeah, I'm seeing lots of room for opportunity there.
Has there been any impact to the schedule of projects? Is it something that we should be concerned about in terms as we kind of mirror the timeline of the projects that you all are completing and these expectations that we have? Is it something that we really should be considering?
No, I don't think there'll be an impact to our schedule of our projects.
And then the last thing I do have, just wanted to put, while I do have you, is 270 17th Street. There's a couple of reports of potential, water main break or a water issue there. I know it was being reported to 311. This is just over the last couple of days. But while I have you all here, if you have someone to check that out, that'd be amazingly well. Right behind the 16th Street high rises.
Got it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you. And Mr. Commissioner, I have a few questions myself. Thank you so much. This is for giving this report today. And I think jumps right on page 3. You went from 14 to 4 people actually reporting directly to you. How do you think this has affected the office, and how do you think it will affect it moving forward? You said you went from 14 to 4, 14
To
direct.
8. I have 8.
Okay, to 8.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Yeah. So, yeah, to be more efficient and, true to my direct reports when I'm spending the time with them and developing them as a leader, I felt that this was a better optimum number than 14 direct reports.
And I apologize.
Yeah.
Councilmember Dustin Hill has actually had questions. I like to ask last. I apologize, as the chair of the committee. Councilmember Hillis.
Thank you, Chairman Lewis. Thank you, Commissioner, for the presentation. Of course, I'm not on this committee, but always like to attend as much as I can for your quarterly reports, given I have a number of assets, DWM assets in District 9. So starting with that, I appreciate the full slide with the RM Clayton upgrades, but if you could provide a little more detail as to what is ongoing right now at RM Clayton and what projects are kind of pending and coming in the future to upgrade that plant.
Yeah, we're in active talks right now with an outside party to come to an agreement in lieu of litigation. And we have a whole long list of projects that will be completed out at RM Clayton. So, it starts at the headworks and dealing with both removal of grit, which causes, damage to our equipment, as well as better odor control. So we have that where it should be. And then also work on our anaerobic digesters. Presently, they're just holding tanks for the most part and not actively operating as they should. That also has impacts not only on our operating costs, it has impacts on our odor mitigation as well. But the list of projects goes really through the entire plant, all the way to the disinfection, to the outfall. So it's a long list of projects that we're going to be working on in the next, this particular list will probably take 5, if not 7 years to get through.
And when will you be able to share the list that I hope would include the cost estimates and also the timelines of those projects with me and my colleagues if they wish?
Yes, it definitely will. Yep, we have preliminary costs now, but we're trying to sharpen those numbers.
And you did mention the odor control study. I believe I saw somewhere that is supposed to be finalized on June 30th. So will I be able to, someone send me that information and possibly go over it with me in a meeting?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you. Councilmember Chair Lewis mentioned, and you mentioned your kind of reorganization, but it continues to remain troubling that we still have a long vacant AC position. We've created a new AC position where we are potentially hurting the most. In Oleo, we still have a vacant DC position, and also engineering service and the consent decree that was brought up. All those positions are vacant. So what is the plan to fill these as soon as possible? Have we hired an outside recruiting or search firm to vigorously go after these individuals that we so desperately need, or what is the plan there?
So it's a great question. And we presently are in interviews for Assistant Commissioner over Operations. The Assistant Commissioner for Engineering will be posted next month. We have a lot of strong candidates already for both positions. So I'm highly encouraged by the turnout that we have. And we also have our Office of Linear Infrastructure Deputy Commissioner position that we've recruited for. I have all those applications ready to go. My goal was to hire the Assistant Commissioner first so they could participate in hiring who's going to be the Deputy Commissioner over Office of Linear Infrastructure. These are decisions that are going to be made in probably weeks, not months. So I'm highly encouraged by our level of participation and applicants that we have.
Thank you, sir. Glad to hear that. You brought up in your SLAs, as I do almost every quarterly report, especially the years I was on the committee and your predecessors, but hydrant repair SLAs have always been generally in the red. Mm-hmm. And as someone who has been either the public safety chair or vice chair all my 8 years on council, I hear horror stories from our firefighters when they go to active fires and they tap or try to tap, not one, not two, but sometimes 3+ hydrants and find them all dry. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the plan in the past has been, we're going to bring in outside contractors to do this work. SLA's never really improved. So are we still working with outside contractors? Are we going to bring more people in internally? What are we working on to get the hydrant SLAs and all of these hydrant repairs out the door and in the green, so to speak?
We need to activate, we need to refill the open positions we have and fully activate the number of crews that we have vacant positions to go out and fix hydrants. We don't have enough hydrant teams out to fix the hydrants out there. Once we fill our active positions or get reasonably close to it, then we're going to reassess to see what additional outside resources and contracting we may need help with. When I was in Houston, we had about a 50-50 mix between city staff and outside contracting help for both hydrant repairs and water leak repairs and sewer repairs. So the city crews work all the time, and then the outside contractors would help us with our seasonality issues where we just couldn't keep up. So that's how we handled that in Houston. So we had a healthy dose of folks helping us from the outside.
Thank you. Next question is kind of interdepartmental and dives into what Councilmember Juan was bringing up. But this has also long been a problem with ATO DOT and DWM, because if you look at it, to the public, anything that makes their car go bump, that's a pothole, and that's what gets reported. But in my experience, over 50% of that is failed utility repairs, and a large percentage of those are our own department, watershed management, not properly doing restorations. And I think I brought this up in our initial meeting. So what is your understanding of the permitting and restoration requirements when DWM damages a city infrastructure, a road, a sidewalk, a bike lane, when you are repairing your DWM infrastructure? Because they're either not done at all, they're very poorly done, they take months to complete, we have plate shifts because we're not using the right equipment around our plates. And so what is your current understanding of that, and what is your plan to improve that and cooperate better with your partner department, ATO DOT?
Yeah, regarding the cooperation piece of that, whether that's at a high level or a lower level, I'm going to be looking into that. So, today is the first I've really heard that. But regarding improving our restoration is creating an internal metric of what our restoration days are. And also, if we use outside contracted resources, that's in their contracts. And so, most recently where I came from, it was 15 days that we internally had to have a restoration completed. Our contracts were 10 days. One thing I've just eliminated in our own SLAs this last period is I removed the language business days. So a lot of our SLAs said 5 business days, 7 business days. I just put that to days. Doesn't matter what day of the week it is. We have to respond. So it's also been brought to my attention, our staffing on the weekends is not proportional to the needs. And I got to experience that firsthand, 2 weeks ago when we had an outage at Peachtree, with a car hitting a water main that was crossing the ridge there. And, by the end of that day, that day stretched into the next day, but, we had to bring in outside resources as well to help. So our ability to respond on a weekend is often not proportional to the need. Our infrastructure doesn't know what day of the week it is. And so we have to be staffed accordingly.
And I plan on beginning talks with Commissioner Cavanis initially about, and not just because of DWM, but again, other city utilities, private contractors across the city, and them not properly restoring our assets and roadways and sidewalks. And we'll hope to bring you in once we have our first initial few meetings to kind of get your input, because this just can't go on. Not only do we have to get better from this point forward, but there are basically every city street in Atlanta has years of failed EWM restorations that has caused that street or sidewalk to not be functioning properly. So on another request for a list on the summary of SSOs, public spills, and private spills, if I could get emailed a list of those. And also on the private spills, number one, just in general, how do you all enforce and fine those? And then in the list I get sent, I would like a list of the fines that have been issued for those quite a few private spills.
Okay.
So just in general, how does Watershed enforce private spills?
How does water? I am unsure of how we are enforcing private spills. DC Mahajer, can you answer that particular question?
Good morning, Alex Mahajer, Office of the Watershed Protection. Usually for the private spills is reported to us by notice from other people, maybe the neighbors. And when we do receive that, since it is a potential to pollute the waters of the state's MS4, then we are in a position to issue citation, take him to court.
But is that only if it goes into waters of the state? We're not.
As long as it stays within that property owner's property boundaries without affecting the waters of the state, according to the NPDES regulations, it is not affecting the municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4. As soon as it has a potential to do that, then it becomes an NPDES violation that we issue citations.
But what if it not just stays on their private property, but what if it crosses over to another private property? Do we issue
Then-
citations for that?
Then the code enforcement will get involved. And then-
Watershed code enforcement?
Yes.
Yes.
And they would issue citations.
Understood. And then also adding to the list, I appreciate the large kind of general summary of current and pending capital projects, but if we could just get an updated list of those and kind of a timeline and prices on those.
We can do that. Yep, we have that available.
And then, obviously, I try to keep these quarterly updates pretty general, but there is a issue in District 9 that I am concerned about that I had a long understanding with Watershed, or so I thought I did, and getting, me and Mayor Dickens worked vigorously to get a long-delayed sewer replacement project out the door, or grapevine sewer replacement, and the only historic neighborhood in District 9 now, which is Whittier Mill Village. That project is ongoing, but apparently has gotten back to me that there's word on the street that, unlike the previous understanding, is Watershed Management, even though they have cut into every street in that neighborhood, does not plan to do curb-to-curb restorations, which I had an understanding and agreement on with your predecessors. So I would ask that that be honored, and I get an update on that and a confirmation that that will be done.
Okay, you got it.
Thank you. That is all my questions. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Councilman Hillers. Any other questions from my colleagues? So, Commissioner, I have a few more questions. On page 5, just looking at the jobs, vacant positions, I see 268. My question was, and how many of those are entry level? And if you don't know, can you find out how many are entry level positions?
I can find out that exact number, but many of that first wave that we've released are all mission critical positions, which would include many entry level, but I'll get those specific numbers. So yeah, we started with, wrenches, boots, hands. That's where we started.
Yeah, and I'll tell you that because we've been very successful at the job fairs, actually. One job fair, we hired almost 200 people on the spot. So we've been very successful actually inviting people out to the job fair. So if we can get those positions, I would love them because I know that's a good job. a job in Atlanta Watershed Department is a great job for our people in our city. And when you said you won't take credit on the program, I will. We've been working with Atlanta Technical College, Atlanta Metropolitan State College since I got elected to do programs and partnerships so that we can actually hire from within. And it's one of the biggest issues that was here when I got elected, coming out of the union, out of the labor union. I knew that the city of Atlanta was not teaching their employees how to grow, how to go from mechanic 1 to mechanic 2. And so I'm happy that we've done these partnerships and we got people growing. So I wanted to make sure I put that plug, and thank you to Dr. Sale and all the folks at Atlanta Technical College who've been helping us on that. The next thing I want to talk about was, you said you want to train your staff yourself, so I'm fully in support of that. Let me know how I can help with that. Flooding in Pittsburgh on McDaniel Street, flooding on Cleveland Avenue, flooding on Hutchins Road, flooding on Springside Drive and Altaview Drive. And I just want to make sure I talk about the flooding and to see if, because I know we got people in Watershed who are going to take notes for that, to see if at the next meeting someone can tell us where are we on that, and we can start working on those projects. That's Pittsburgh, so that's the entire community, mainly McDaniel Street, where people can't drive down if it gets a small rain. That's Cleveland Avenue. That's from the flooding that's around that bridge and around our 75 highway is just unbearable for people, my car included. That's Springside Drive and Altaview Drive. And there was a specific, if you can get someone to start looking at those and give me a report on how we can start moving that forward.
Okay.
The work on South River, I heard you mention South River a few times. Thank you so much for being intentional on that. If you can expand more on that in the next report, work that you're doing in South River, unless you want to expand on it now.
Yeah, I can expand a little bit on that right now. So we've done a lot of temporary measures, but the real issues that we have there is putting online primary clarifiers there. They're very late, several months, if not longer, late. So we're doing work there this week to bring those clarifiers on. They're doing what's called a tap into the line to create basically an air relief that will enable those primary clarifiers to work. That plant has been operating without primary clarifiers for, I believe, 9 months, if not longer. That's what's creating the violations. So we'll get that back online. Also, we have in the works that we're going to be doing a condition assessment of South River and then bring in additional training to our staff and help our staff with training so they know how to better operate the plant.
Thank you. Thank you. The next question comes from a group of community members. They're looking at bill collection. They were looking at ways to improve it. And the question was surrounding around the flappers that we did we did a flapper program in March. And I wanted to know if there's a way that has there been any thought to partnering with condos, housing associations, and apartment buildings to do toilet audits that may reduce water consumption? I know we did it here in City Hall last time, but is there any kind of way we could, I hear them whispering, somebody knows something back there.
I think we can look into that. So yeah, now some outreach where we go in and troubleshoot and find out what the issues may be, or they may have issues they're not even aware of, and then, work with them to fix those issues.
Or bring the flappers to Roselle Fan, the flappers to Pittman Park, and let's work with some housing associations so that we can actually help them. We know they had the program down here at City Hall, but people pay to come down here, and it's kind of difficult for some people to get past I-20 sometimes. So just want to ask those questions. I truly appreciate you and your report today. I actually had one, a kudos too. You brought in props. And not just any props, you actually showed us the older model and the new model now that AI is actually here. And so truly appreciate that. That gave me a level of understanding that I needed. So anything from my colleagues? Thank you again, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. It's an honor.
Okay. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda? It's been moved and properly second, moved by Councilmember Westmoreland, second by Councilmember Shook. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Can we have a motion to approve the minutes? It's been moved and properly second, moved by Councilmember Collins, second by Councilmember Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
One moment. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
Mr. Johnson, will you sound the first reads?
Yes, this takes us to our consent agenda. Section G, ordinance for first reading, item number 1, 2050-1388. An ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2025 Water and Wastewater Renewal and Extension Fund budget in amount of $17,437,000.00. Transfer funds from watershed reserves for appropriations and add funds to the pumping station improvement, Chattahoochee WT pump header and yard piping improvement project and for other purposes. This takes us to our regular agenda, Section H, ordinances for second reading, item number 2, 2050-1347. An ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2025 Water and Wastewater Renewal and Extension Fund budget in the amount of $17,500,000.00 to transfer funds from watershed reserves for appropriations and add funds to the annual plant maintenance, major mechanical repairs and services projects and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, the department requests that this item be held.
So moved. Been moving properly second, moved by myself, second by Councilmember Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is held in committee. Mr. Chair, item number 3 requires a substitute. The substitute changes the caption, but we have a motion to bring forth a substitute.
Second. It's been moving properly second, moved by Councilmember Juan, second by Councilmember Shook. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is brought before you. The substitute incorporates the funding amount and the funding source. Item number 3, 2050-1384, an ordinance by Councilmember Howard Shook as substituted by City Utilities Committee. An ordinance authorizing Chief Financial Officer to amend the FY 2026 Water and Wastewater Renewal and Extension Fund budget in the amount of $15,000.00 to transfer funds, to amend the FY 2026 Water and Wastewater Sublien Revenue Bond Fund budget an amount of $15 million to transfer a total of $30,000.00 from the watershed reserves for appropriation to add funds to the capital improvement, architectural, engineering, design, and construction management services project and for other purposes.
It's been moving properly second, moved by Councilmember Juan, second by Councilmember Shook. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable on substitute. This takes us to Section I, resolutions. Mr. Chair, item number 4 requires a substitute. May we have a motion to bring forth a substitute?
It's been moved and properly second, moved by Councilmember Juan, second by Councilmember Westmoreland. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The substitute is brought before you. The substitute also incorporates the funding amount and the funding source. Item number 4, 25R3599, a resolution by Councilmember Howard Shook as substituted by City Utilities Committee. A resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to exercise the second renewal option for each of the 6 agreements under RFPS 1200311, Architectural, Engineering, Design, and Construction Management Services Agreements listed herein, effective from July 17, 2025 through July 16, 2026, an amount for each agreement not to exceed $30,000,00 to provide professional architectural, engineering, design, and construction management services on a task order basis for capital improvement plan projects, allocate funding to a joint task order fund in the amount not to exceed $30,000,000 for use under the 6 agreements for agreement number listed herein, all contract work we charge to and pay from the fund, department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
It's been moving properly second. Please open the vote. Moved by Councilmember Juan, second by Councilmember Shook.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. The item is favorable on substitute. Mr. Chair, there is no objection from the committee. Can we take items number 5, 7, and 8 together as a block?
Please do.
Item number 5, 25R3602, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to enter into a memorandum of understanding and contract item agreement with the State of Georgia Department of Transportation on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for a purpose of adjusting water and sewer infrastructure that conflicts with the Department of Transportation's intersection improvement project at the intersection of State Route 42 US, 23 Moreland Avenue, City Street 2199, United Avenue, and City Street 2953, Skyhaven Road in Fulton County, an amount not to exceed $494,966.42. All contract award we charged to and paid from the fund department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for the purposes. Item number 7, 25R3604, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to enter into a memorandum of understanding and contract item agreement with the State of Georgia Department of Transportation on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for the purpose of adjusting water and sewer infrastructure that conflicts with the State of Georgia Department of Transportation intersection improvement project at the intersection of State Route 280 James Jackson Parkway and City Street 2646 Northwest Drive in Fulton County, an amount not to exceed $270,501.94. All contract award will be charged to and paid from the fund department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes. Item number 8, 25R3605, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to enter into a memorandum of understanding and contract item agreement with the State of Georgia Department of Transportation on behalf of the Department of Watershed Management for the purpose of adjusting water and sewer infrastructure that conflicts with the State of Georgia Department of Transportation's bridge replacement project at 581 Bethesda Road and Morning Creek in Fulton County, an amount not to exceed $209,275.29. All contract award will be charged to and paid from the fund department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
It's been moved and properly second, moved by Councilmember Juan, second by Councilmember Shook. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. Mr. Chair, that takes us back to item number 6, 25R3603, a resolution by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to exercise the second renewal option for agreement number listed herein, geotechnical testing and investigation services with the United Consulting Group on behalf of the Departments of Watershed Management and City Planning for a term of 1 year for time only and for other purposes.
It's been moved and properly second. Please moved by Councilmember Shook, second by Councilmember Juan. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Mr. Chair, that concludes our legislative items for this morning.
Anything from my colleagues? Any announcements?
Yes, quickly, I see our Public Works Deputy Commissioners in the audience. Please be mindful of the heat for your employees. Talk to your staff about pushing to get solid waste picked up. If it is too hot, let's revise plans. I am very concerned about the employees outside in this heat. Thank you all so much, and I'll be happy to talk with you all after the meeting. Thank you.
I have a general remark for my colleagues. Colleagues, included in your committee packets are the responses from the Department of Watershed Management to the items requested by the committee. If you need any additional information, please reach out to Mr. Johnson, who will coordinate with the department to obtain it. Additionally, at our July 15 CUC meeting, we will look forward to receiving an update from the Water and Sewer Appeals Board. Cool. Thank you, and I want to say congratulations to all the interns in the crowd. I'm seeing a lot of young people in the building. I'm super happy to see y'all. So I hope you all are taking full advantage of this summer. I was able to do it 20 years ago. I actually interned with Mayor Shirley Franklin. Enjoy this summer and make sure you take advantage. Let's go, let's get it.